Before I really dive into the meat of this video, I'd like to do a quick preface. First point I would like to address is that I have not slept. I stayed up all night, bad idea, fell asleep at about 11 AM, woke up at about 4:45 PM, so my brain is completely fuzzled. I have no idea where I am, so if my points are completely incoherent, please let me know, because right now I feel like I'm making a lot of sense, but often when I do this and look back, I'm just talking nonsense the entire time, so who fucking knows? The second thing I'd like to preface is, mention is that I'm not talking... I'm going to sound like I'm just shitting on the guy this entire time, so I want to talk about the things that he's good at first, and maybe clarify my point a little bit. Digibro's doesn't make exclusively terrible videos. He's really good, in fact, at analyzing the meta of anime. He's probably the best in the industry at doing this. A great example of this is his videos about the otaku hero's journey, where he makes a really clever observation about the mad scientist and living computer archetype. No one's made that point before, as far as I can tell, and it's actually very well done. He's really good at spotting patterns across genre and across many different anime that he's seen. He's also really good at doing broad strokes of a long time period of a franchise or a person. For example, his Nanoha retrospective or Shimbo series. He's really good at following the journey of something with a little bit of opinion pieces and critique, or rather reviews in the middle. The one thing he's not good at is this very, very specific genre video, which is anime analysis of all things. Not just all analysis, because the things I just talked about are analysis, but specifically the shot-by-shot breakdowns of shows, where he will go in depth and just break down a show shot by shot, and because he's not really analyzing the videos. I wouldn't describe these videos as analysis as much as I would describe them as that they more closely resemble audio descriptions for the visually impaired, because all he does is point at things on the screen and then describe what is happening on the screen, with very little added on top. What is added on top is incredibly surface level analysis or opinion on what's happening and why. He very rarely actually goes in depth, and to demonstrate this, I'm going to show you a couple of his videos. I'm not going to show you the entire thing. I'm just going to go through a little bit of a few clips of a few videos, but I implore you to go back and watch some of these style of videos. Again, not all of his videos like this are trash. In fact, this style works really well for taking down bad shows, because something like Sword Art Online, if you just describe the plot step by step what happens, it is so stupid that just describing that is funny and entertaining. But when you're trying to explain why a show does something well, this is not really useful or interesting or anything that someone couldn't just realize from watching the show themselves, which I feel like is not really the job of the critic. But once again, this is not everything he does in his channel, and a lot of the stuff he does is great. And I'm also going to use this video to springboard into a bigger point, that anime analysis is not actually what Digibro is selling or has ever really been selling, so it doesn't matter that they're bad. But I'm getting ahead of myself. That's a later point that I want to make. Let's start by just talking about a couple of his reviews. So the first thing I just picked out a couple of his videos that I thought were emblematic of this. They're basically just random like videos. Good this one is the Zankyo no Terror video, analyzing what good directing in anime looks like via Zankyo no Terror episode 1. This is pretty much the style of video I'm talking about, where he breaks down a show shot by shot, by just going through and just literally describing what is happening on the screen as it is happening. Something that anyone could do by just looking at the screen. This would be like if I was to do a literary analysis of Edgar Allan Poe, and I turn to a page and I say, A Tale of the Ragged Mountains. During the fall of the year 1827, while residing near Charlottesville, Virginia, I casually made the acquaintance of Mr. Augustus Bedloe. Okay, so this means that the guy was in Charlottesville, Virginia in the year 1827, and he met this guy called Augustus Bedloe. That is essentially what Digibro's analysis breaks down to when he's doing this very specific genre of video. So, now we're getting into the meat of this shit. I'm sorry this is so lo-fi, I can't be bothered to do a whole scripted and edited fucking thing about this, because it's not really important. It's just a literary critique of a literary critique, so no hard feelings, okay? I'm just going to point the camera at the screen and play this video for you, and just point out the fact that all he does is, let's get into the meat of it first, when he goes beyond talking, like, setting the stage, the preface, which is what I just got done doing. Pretty normal for a video. We're just going to play this video.
For those who don't know, Aomori is one of Japan's northern prefectures, and it snows there a lot. Okay. Right after this, we see a young...
So let me go back a little bit, because I skipped forward a little too much.
Ever outright explaining to the viewer what is going on. The first shots in the
Hey, what a strange coincidence that he's talking about explaining to the viewer exactly what is going on, and how this show is good for not doing it, while he does exactly that.
Episode are of an armored van charging down a snow-covered road.
As we can see, he's describing what is happening on screen right now. He then goes on to describe what Aomori, Japan is, which if you were a Japanese audience watching this, you would just already know. In fact, I already know because I'm a fucking weeb, and I imagine a lot of Digi's audience already knows. In fact, you don't even need to know, you can just infer it from the scene, because it says Japan, and it's snowing, so you know it's somewhere in Japan where it snows. You don't even need to know where Aomori is.
Here we have on-screen text supplying one of only a handful of direct explanations to the viewer. It tells us that the scene is set in Aomori, Japan.
Do you see what I mean? He just explains what's happening in a really long-winded way, and I know I'm only 1 minute into the video, but he continues to do this in every one of his videos, and no one's pointed this out. No one's mentioned this. Hey, you know, you can diss the guy's political opinions, but you gotta say he's got a knack for analyzing those animes. I'm not sure about that.
Quick context. For those who don't know, Aomori is one of Japan's northern prefectures, and it snows there a lot. Right after this, we see a young-looking guy driving the van and humming to himself. The fact that he's in a gas mask is immediately unsettling, as it suggests that he's doing something potentially dangerous.
You can literally just look at this image and infer that without having to have a man tell you this. He is in an armoured van wearing a gas mask, and you don't even need to think very deeply to understand the fact that gas masks, when someone's covering someone's face, looks unnatural. Look, it changes the shape of a person. It makes you feel unsettled, right? This is something you could just really easily get from just looking at a picture, a still from this scene.
However, the fact that he's humming so enthusiastically also suggests that he's enjoying himself.
He's just pointing out what is going on.
From here, we cut to some quick shots of an eyeball scanner and another man in a hazmat suit unlocking a door. Before we even get to the next shot of the interior of an industrial facility, we already know that whatever's inside is important enough to be behind two kinds of security. Right after this, we receive our second piece of on-screen context with text that reads, Nuclear Fuel Reprocessing Facility.
Do you understand what I mean? Everything he just said was completely unnecessary for his script, because he just showed it in the video. And in fact, it just happens in the episode. So all he's done is describe the shots that took place and the words that happened on screen.
Some heavy machinery is seen packing a small orb inside of a much larger
container. Do you understand? Why this is frustrating to me? Let me just skip further into this video so we can see that he continues to do this for entire fucking time.
Class under the codename Arata Kokonoe. Amazingly, the sense of blown-out lighting and intense summer heat is kept up in the indoor scenes by having all of the lights off in the classroom.
He's literally pointing at the scene and saying the lights are off in the classroom.
With the windows
and the windows are open and there's light in the winter.
Lighting is fairly common to anime in scenes set during the late afternoon. It's pretty rare to see this in daytime scenes, and it's especially cool because in reality, schools often turn off the lights on overly hot days.
Here we get to an example of his what passes for analysis in these types of videos. Once again, he can do analysis in other ways. I don't want to seem like I'm just needlessly shitting on the guys or on the guy. So this is his idea of an analysis shot by shot, is to just point out the fact that schools sometimes turn their lights off. And somehow, this is literary analysis. There is no mention of, like, why, how, who, anything like this. All he does is describe what's going on in the scene. Now, in fairness, this video is 4 years old. Let's go to one of his more new videos. I've skipped a little bit into this video because, once again, there's a preface where I just skipped to the meat of the analysis about 5 minutes in. So let's just see This came out not very long ago. So let's see, 28th of November 2018. So pretty recent video. Let's see if he's changed his style a little bit, because he has. His script writing style has definitely changed since then. It's less dry, but let's see if he still just describes what's happening on the screen.
Generic forest, we now know that this forest is next to the ruins of a modern-looking city, long mossed over in a way resembling how it is often simulated that the world would look if humanity ceased to exist and its cities became overgrown. So right away, whatever MMO game this is seems to be set in a far future post-apocalyptic world.
This is nothing you could not infer from just looking at the thing. Maybe the problem is me. Maybe what's happening is I don't understand that most people don't notice these things. Maybe that's the problem here. But I don't know. Just looking at a scene and pointing out there's moss on those buildings, that means they're old. It's probably post-apocalyptic. Which is also, it's not like some sort of subtext or meta text or anything interesting like that. He's not talking about any cinematic techniques or anything. He's literally just pointing out the frame and explaining what's happening. Once again, it's like an audio description. It's not analysis. Now here he goes into some actual cinematography. My brain is fucking fuzzled, but let's get in. Is fuzzled even a word?
This panned-out perspective also conveys the size of the spell's area of effect, and seconds later it's clear that this was not mainly an offensive spell, as it doesn't immediately seem to cause physical damage to the monsters, cluing us in that Shiroi is a support mage rather than an offensive one. When Shiroi then announces, "I see them, 7 briar weasels," it's clear that he used this move less as an attack, and more as an element of environmental strategy. Even though this fight isn't particularly exciting from an action standpoint, this dialogue has already given it more of a tactical edge than most action shows would bother with, though I doubt that many first-time viewers would be immediately cognizant of all this because it happens so fast, and is frankly a lot of information to try and parse in the opening 20 seconds of a show when you don't even know what kind of series it's supposed to be yet. The introduction of now...
Do you understand what I'm talking about? All he's done so far is slow down the show and then describe what is happening. The only single piece of analysis he's done is say a pulled out shot shows how big something is, which is, to say the least, not exactly in-depth literary analysis. Now, here's what I think okay, I'm going to address a couple complaints here that I think I might receive. Firstly, you might say, this is just Digibro's style, and I can't criticize that because it's just his style, and hey, I like it, so that's my personal taste. That's not a point. That's not a counterpoint, okay? I'm doing a literary critique of a literary critique here. This is also my personal opinion. Everything's opinion. Subjectivity is implied. But we can see that the people he often quotes as inspiration don't do this. Film Vit Hulk doesn't do this. Endless Jest doesn't do this. Joseph Anderson doesn't do this. YMS doesn't do this. YMS is probably the closest example because he also does scene-by-scene breakdowns of films. In fact, he has a great, really long series on Synecdoche, New York. But when you look at a YMS breakdown of Synecdoche, New York, he doesn't just sit there and describe what is happening. He actually goes into the script writing techniques, I cannot say this fucking word today. The cinematography. He goes into the subtext, the editing. That's another thing that Digibro will never mention. He will never mention continuity or moment-to-moment editing. Now, a lot of people do what Digibro does, which is to just go through a thing and describe the plot during their analysis. Usually before the analysis. Serves a purpose, which is if people, for example, maybe haven't seen the thing for a while and they need their memory refreshed, or if they haven't seen the thing at all, you can go through and explain the plot. A guy called Folding Ideas, I know he's a little controversial for his political opinions, but he is a good analyst, and he does this at the beginning of pretty much everything. He will explain the plot of the thing, and then he'll go back and break down why things work or don't work, or what is going wrong here, or what's going right here. The problem with Digibro is he just does the first bit and never goes back and explains what is going right or wrong. Emblematic of this is the fact that I have never heard... Excuse me, I might be making a little... maybe I'm forgetting something or something obvious. I've never heard Digibro talk about metaphor or symbolism in any depth. metaphor and symbolism are some of the most basic features of literature dating back to before the ancient Greek times. Ancient Greek plays are full of them. If you don't know what I'm talking about in a film sense, for example, zombies are not zombies. They are a metaphor for disease or immigration or something like that, right? It doesn't matter. Authorial intent doesn't really matter in this sense. This is generally how it's represented. Now, Digibro has done a lot of videos on Neon Genesis Evangelion, and it's one of his favorite shows. Not once has he ever talked about any of the symbolism in that show. People often write off all of the symbolism in Eva because the Christian symbolism specifically is relatively meaningless. But let me just do what Digibro does and then go a step further. In the show, there are giant biomechanical monsters that are actually the children's mothers who they climb inside and pilot from within an encased area filled with liquid that tastes like blood. And they then go and fight monsters from off of Earth who are called angels. If that is not begging to be... If that is not calling out to the audience saying, I'm a fucking metaphor, I represent something, I don't know what is. I've never heard Digibro mention any of this. A common reading of this Evangelion thing is that they represent how you always live in your parents' shadow, and that you have to... Your parents are these big monsters that seem much larger than life, much larger than you, and you have no choice but to, in the sense that Shinji has no choice but to pilot the Eva. You have no choice but to live in your parents' shadow. My personal reading of this is that the Evas aren't actual representations of the kids' parents, but the kids' images of their parents. One central theme to Eva, especially in the last couple episodes, is the idea that there's not just one person. There is the Shinji that lives in Shinji's head, and there's the Shinji that lives in Asuka's head, and there's the Shinji that lives in Rei's head and Misato's head, and they're all different Shinjis. My reading is that the Eva are representations of the parents that live in the children's heads, and how they have to weaponize or pilot. It's painful to get in and pilot the Eva. It's physically painful because it is emotionally painful to reconcile your idea of who your parents are with reality. This is not my point. I'm not here to do a breakdown of Evangelion. What I'm saying is I've never heard Digibro do anything like this, which is incredibly basic literary criticism. Now, here is kind of the main thrust of this video that I'm sweeping in from under the rug, because this may have seemed like a critique of Digibro, but it is actually an analysis of Digibro's branding and marketing. Because the fact is, Digibro is never selling, was never selling, has never been selling, is never going to be selling anime analysis. He is doing something called lifestyle marketing. If you don't know what lifestyle marketing is, back in the day, adverts used to be like, buy this gum. It contains these ingredients. It has a nice peppermint spearmint taste or whatever. And they would just explain it. Buy these cigarettes. They're really smooth, And then Marlboro cigarettes had an advert with a guy called the Marlboro Man, who was a cowboy who smoked Marlboro cigarettes. And the idea was to associate the lifestyle of being a cowboy with the brand of Marlboro. If you want to be a cowboy, or if the ideal of being a cowboy appeals to you, part of that image is now smoking Marlboro cigarettes, right? Funny enough, the Marlboro Man died of lung cancer. Now, every advert we see is lifestyle marketing, essentially. You look at, like, Coca-Cola, for example. You never see a Coke advert that is talking about the taste of Coke. It's always happy people at a picnic drinking Cokes. Or perfume, for example, is a great example. I keep doing this! For example is a great example. 3 videos I've said this! Fuck! Anyway, perfume. They never talk about the smell of the perfume. It's always some fucking nonsense with models diving off of cliffs or some shit. It's why you get weird shit like that Pepsi advert. There was a protest because they're trying to associate the idea of something lifestyle with the brand of Pepsi, and it didn't work at all. This is what Digibro pulls off really well, because the actual product that he's selling or the actual supposed product of his videos, right, is not really what people are buying. They're buying the lifestyle of the otaku, right? He represents the idealized platonic form of otaku, right? He has the long crazy hair, he's got the beard, he's got the wacky glasses, he's always drunk, he's in his room all the time, stays up all night, just watches anime all the time, right? It's like a lot of people can relate to this lifestyle or idealize this lifestyle, and that is what sells his videos. So when you see something like the Log Horizon multiple part breakdown series, it doesn't matter if the videos are good. What matters is someone took the time to sit down and write a multi-part series about an anime where a guy goes into an MMO, right? Not to diss Log Horizon, it's a pretty good show, but that's what he's selling. This is emblemized by the... Is emblemized the word? This is reinforced by the fact that a lot of his diehard fans really follow him for his Digibro After Dark channel, where he doesn't even talk about anime most of the time. He just talks about he sells the lifestyle, even more directly than his main channel. He sells the lifestyle. He even has a video about this exact topic. It's called something like... Otaku Gonzo Journalism is just a fancy way of saying Otaku Life Blogger, or something like that. You can find it. Which is explaining basically my exact point. He's aware of this fact. He is not selling the analysis. Doesn't matter that his analysis is kind of subpar, because every other anime YouTuber sells their product, which is their videos. The anime man sits in front of a camera and does a vlog, and he smiles, and he's got his emo fringe, and he's doing that. And Giguk sells Giguk, and whatever. But Digibro sells the otaku, the idealized otaku lifestyle as it's been shown. He even has the fucking big round glasses. I mean, how much more... Every time you see an otaku in media, they've got those big swirly eyes, big round glasses, right? He even has that. You could not get more stereotypical than him. His brand is perfect. He wears anime shirts and fucking pajama pants all day. You could not get more perfect. Once you realize this, a lot of things start to make sense. For example, why did everyone get so mad? A big majority of his fan base gets so mad when Digibro started smoking the weed. Well, if you think about it, someone starting to smoke weed is not really a big deal. Even if he mentions it on camera occasionally, it shouldn't be a big deal. But it's selling a different lifestyle than the one they subscribe to, or the one that they came to his channel for. Imagine if... Doc Martens, right, is a shoe company that markets itself by associating with punk and rebellion, because it was big during that era, right? Imagine if Doc Martens suddenly started selling Croc-like shoes, something like Crocs, and they were perfectly fine. They were good shoes, but they were Crocs, or like plastic shoes like that. People would be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And Doc Martens could turn around and say, "What are you talking about? They're still shoes. They're still good shoes. It doesn't matter because there's not the lifestyle they bought into." This is why everyone got so pissed off with the Digibro weed phase. It's the same reason why Digibro's subscribers have kind of plateaued. Because, number one, there's only a certain amount of people interested in this lifestyle. And number two, that lifestyle is inherently unsustainable. We can even see that it's changed. He is no longer who he once was. For example, biggest fact is he has a fiance now, which does not fit into what he was originally selling. It's a pivot of his brand. It's a more subtle pivot, and I think a lot of people have gotten used to it, or, you know... I just want to make this point incredibly clear in case I'm misconstrued here. I'm talking about Digibro, not Conrad Collins. What is good for Conrad Collins is a completely separate issue. You do not have to base your personal life around being a brand, even if you're a YouTuber. There is no reason for someone to not get engaged to someone they love because it's bad for their brand. This is not what I'm saying. I'm very happy that he found someone who he could get along with, and that they, all that, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm analysing the brand that is Digibro, not the person that is Conrad Collins, right? That's something else. I don't want to... Analysing this is the weird thing about YouTube, is that the persona and the person, they kind of are so intermingled that it's weird, but... Anyway, so just ignore the fact that I'm talking about a real person and imagine I'm talking about a fictional character right here, or a brand. So this also explains why I Am Games didn't do so well. Because there is no lifestyle associated with I Am Games. When you think of Digibro, he's really marketed himself heavily as Otaku Gonzo Journalism, right? You think of the guy in his room all day, probably smells a little bit, pretty cool guy, knows a lot about anime. It gives you this idea of the person who would watch Digibro, right? If you try and think of an idea of the person who would watch I Am Games, there is no lifestyle associated with it. They never did that, and I think that's probably a big reason why it never reached the success it could have. Just making sure I'm still recording here. Yeah, everything's still working. That's good. So that's basically my point. Is that Digibro was never really marketing his videos as videos. He was marketing the lifestyle associated with being an otaku. I hope that this analysis has been relatively informative. Once again, just to really drum this point in, I have nothing against the man himself, Digibro, Digital Bro. I have nothing against this boy. This boy. nothing against this boy. I like some of the Digibro videos, you know. What the hell does he know about analysis? If you enjoyed this current video that you're watching, ignore everything and just go listen to my music instead, because I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a musician. That's a real art. Learn about real art. It's called music, bitch. Stop analyzing anime, stop making music. Oh god, I could do a really crazy video about Digibro's rap career. Anyway, this channel's stupid. What would you expect? You're on the backwards channel. Things are bad here. Yeah, I'm not dissing the guy. I'm just trying to do a critique of his content, or an analysis of his content. I know this is really difficult because on YouTube, the person and the persona are so intermingled that it's really hard to separate them, even for the people involved, like who are making the videos. So it's really easy to come off as mean-spirited when you critique someone's content. I really don't want to do that. I just wanted to do like as much as I can, just a breakdown of the brand of Digibro, rather than like really not the person of Digibro. And also, just because I'm critiquing this aspect doesn't mean I hate everything about Digibro or the brand. You know, there's plenty of videos that I like. I still think he's got talent in doing his meta-analysis. I think he's probably like the best at doing meta-analysis of anime, which is a very niche thing, but you know, that's cool. I like niche things. Also, I am not qualified to talk on this. I took a film class in high school. That's about it. I watch a lot of films. I read a lot of literary critique and books, and read a lot of film reviews and stuff, but I am not like in any way a professional or qualified to talk about this stuff. So disregard all of my opinions, please. And patreon.com/no thank you, the O's are zeros, where you can find 5 extra tracks every month for only $1 a month. In fact, you could just pay $1, download all my tracks, and then never pay another penny, because there's like over 100 songs over there. So if you like my music, there is no better deal than just going over to Patreon and getting all those tracks. I can't remember back in the day, used to go to a record shop. You don't remember, I don't remember. You used to go to a record shop, pay like £5 for one album. Now you're over here, you pay $1, you get over 100 songs by No Thank You, original. Some of them have been released in other places, but early access at the very least. You know, I don't like shitting myself this much, but it's a fucking good deal, and you guys are pussies. You're pussies for not cashing in on this deal. You're missing out. It's a steal. And I feel like I'm actually selling myself way too cheap here. So get it while it's hot, because it might change. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. Goodbye.